Well, good day to you. Welcome to my channel. If you're here, then you know that I'm not actually Australian, and that my voice might change at any given moment. What we're going to talk about today is forgiveness. I'm going to give you a couple different examples. This is self-forgiveness and forgiving other people, why you need to do this, how you can do this. So if there's been somebody that you're like, oh, I need to forgive this person, you're right. Why do you need to do this? Because as long as you aren't forgiving this person, you are carrying them within your energetic system, right? You're giving them your energy in a day. So imagine that you only get the size of a watermelon of energy every day. Every time that this person throughout the day happens to pop into your head, they're getting a little bit of that energy. And not only are they getting that energy, but when you're thinking about them, you're sending something negative that is not in alignment with the divine out from yourself, and this thing will be returned back to you. Whatever we hold in our consciousness, we send out, because the world is made of the exact same energy as our consciousness. It manifests, it becomes created, and it's returned back to us. So forgiveness is for you. It's so that you can have wonderful creations, wonderful manifestations, and it's also for the other person. And you might be thinking, I don't want it to be for the other person. Okay, well, eventually when you do actually forgive this person, you will want to set them free as well. Okay, so here is story number one. So when I was a teenager, I got pregnant at 15 years old. Thinking about that now, I'm like, dang, wow. Anyways, that's how my life was back then. And it would be good to note that I'm very thankful and very happy that things panned out exactly the way that they did. My oldest son just turned 25, got married. I love it. It's wonderful. I love her. It's wonderful. Everything is wonderful. So anyways, pregnant at 15. Now this man that I was with was extremely abusive, mentally, physically, every way that he could be. He also abused his little sister at the time, when she was 4 years old. And anyways, so I have my baby. I'm going to just go back. So a week before I had my baby, this was, I think it was like 6 or 7 days before he was born. We're in my car sitting out front of his friend's house. He starts punching me clearly, obviously, in my stomach, trying to hurt this baby. I give him a smack, like I'm sitting in the driver's seat. I flail my arm back. I end up breaking his nose, which gave me enough time to get out of my car and run away. Anyways, long story short, after I have my baby, I want to protect my child from this man, and I want him to have nothing to do with us, right? I'm a protective mama bear. You're not getting near my baby. Which was actually really easy to do because my ex-brother-in-law gave me some really excellent advice. This man had owed me a few $1,000s for a car that I had bought for him. And he said, what would you pay to not see this man again? And I was like, well, anything. And he goes, okay, well, all you need to do is forgive him what he owes you and don't pursue him for any child support, and you'll never hear from this guy ever again, which is exactly what happened. So 18 years go by, and I'm feeling good about this, right? He's not had anything to do with my child. And there was one time, like maybe a year prior to this, so maybe when my son was 18, that I realized and figured out, oh, hey, he knows where I live. And I got pretty upset by this, thinking, what if he happens to come around, blah, 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 blah. Anyways, besides that, and thinking about one conversation where my husband at the time brought him up, and it really upset me that I'm like, I don't want to talk about this person. Why are you bringing this up? Why are we talking about this? Besides that, he just didn't come up. He didn't come up over those years. So anyways, I'm, doing my hypnotherapy work, and I've been doing this for, several years at this point. And I realized, I need to forgive this man. And I don't know why. Actually, no, maybe this is how it started. So, yeah, I remember getting an email from Gaia, the network. And it was talking about forgiveness. And it said something along the lines of, upon forgiveness, you can actually physically jump higher. So I'm like, okay, I need to do this because there's obviously something to it. Now, knowing what I know, of course, we are carrying the weight of our thoughts, of our consciousness in our body physically. This is why people have physical ailments and disease and things like that, because we're literally holding our thoughts and our unhealed parts of us within our energetic system and downgrading them by doing so. So I knew I needed to forgive this man. So I'm doing a meditation, which here's some tips for you if you need to forgive somebody. So what I did was imagined him as a child. I do this with my clients, if they need to forgive somebody, this can be very helpful. So I imagined him as a child. Now here's the thing about this man. When he was 7 years old, I believe, his own father left him, never to return. Prior to this, his father was extremely abusive towards his mother. He would take his cigarettes and he would put them out on her. And him as a child is witnessing this. So I hadn't, thought about this in 18 years. And so this comes up in the meditation because I'm seeing him as this little 7-year-old child who is feeling so abandoned by his own father and who has been witnessed this abuse. And I had so much compassion. I had so much compassion for him. And I just thought, well, of course he would end up abusing me. And of course he would end up doing these things because of his own pain. And so in that moment, I forgave him. And I mean, I really forgave him. And I just only wanted the best for him. Now, at this point, I believe I had already, explored this enlightenment within myself. You know what? Maybe I hadn't, but I'd become aware, and I knew how important forgiveness was. So, anyways, I forgive this man. Within a month or 2 or 3 or however long it was, keep in mind this is like several years ago, I get a message on Facebook from him. Have not talked to this man in 18 years. And I get a message from him, and all it is him apologizing for how he treated me. And he goes on, this was not right, and I'm so sorry, and blah, blah, blah. I hope, you and your son are doing well. If you want to tell me anything about him, that's great. Thanks. I hope you're okay, kind of thing. So this message was very welcome to me, right? Because I had truly actually forgiven him. So I was like, oh, cool. Yep. Thanks. Good. All good. Yep. Whatever I responded to, that's it. That's the end of it. That's the last time that I've talked to him. Now, had he sent me this message and had I not forgiven him yet, it would have been very unwelcome. I would have thought all kinds of things. Oh, he knows where we are. This is what's going to happen now. But, I would have had all this stuff around it. But I didn't because it was welcome, because I had actually forgiven him. And I was thankful because I used to see pictures of him with his family. So he, I assume got married and had a couple kids. And my concern that whole time was, I hope he's not abusing them. I hope he's not abusing them. Like, I was so concerned for this woman and for these children, thinking, I know what type of a person he was. I hope that's not the case anywhere. So anyways, receiving this message kind of confirmed to me, like, okay, well, if something was going on, he's aware now. He's woken up now, and he's looking to change his ways. So it was like very heartwarming, I would say, to get this message, thinking, things must be good for him. So I was happy about this. Okay, so second case would be my own father. Super resentful towards him. Because, he would appear this one way in public and everyone was like, oh, he's the most wonderful man in the whole entire world. You're so lucky to have a dad like that. Meanwhile, at home, we're like, are you kidding me? Like, I get the chills when he walks in the house. It was not good. So I work at forgiving him. Now, this took some time. So if you are in the middle of something, maybe you have like a tumultuous relationship with somebody in your family, keep this in mind. I didn't talk to him for several years at one point. I was like, no, I'm done with this man. And didn't talk to him for several years. So if you're at that point and you're like, oh, I need to forgive this person, but you're at the point where right now you're just not even talking to him, it'll come. It'll come eventually, but only if you want it to. Only if you want it to. So same type of technique that I use with him, I believe, envisioning him as a child, forgiving him for not loving me perfectly, and why, because he was not loved perfectly, sort of thing. Anyway, so, forgive my dad as well. So now my relationship with him is very different. There's zero resentment that is there towards him, none at all. And it feels good. And we have a completely different relationship, all because I forgave. He's still him. He's still the same person. But I released him energetically by forgiving him. And therefore I'm not carrying any more of that limiting negative energy within myself anymore. But the hardest person to forgive is yourself, right? And if you can forgive yourself, you can forgive anybody for anything. So why is it so hard for us to forgive ourselves? Why? Because we hold on to guilt and we hold on to shame, and we find it so difficult for whatever reason. We are harder on ourselves than we are on anybody else, right? We will put up with all kind of things until it's crossed our limit, until we're like, no, I'm more valuable than this. And once we, really realize our value, we will not let anybody treat us less than what we believe that our value is. But if we don't believe that we're super valuable and worthy, we will crap all over ourselves, not forgive ourselves, hold things against ourselves, shame, guilt, all that kind of stuff. So anyways, I had to work on myself as well, forgiving myself for, basically for being bad to myself. And I think about my life, and I used to be a drug addict, and, I've had all kind of issues. And I would crap on myself about this, of like, what kind of mother, has a past like that? Like, what a shameful thing this is. My poor children, to know that their, mom used to be a drug addict or whatever. And I was so ashamed of this. And now I'm like, man, dude, that's like the best thing that could have happened to me, because I'm so compassionate and understanding towards other people who are going through it. And I'm an example that it doesn't matter what you're going through. You can get through it. You will get through it. So as we forgive ourselves, then not only do we become physically lighter, like we actually become more light-bodied, but we can then work on forgiving other people. So here is a nice little technique that you can use if you are working towards forgiving somebody, that you can do, because it's baby steps. So I started with the baby steps. That was the very first thing that I did. And this involved me forgiving my dog, my cute little dog, Honey. You know what? Maybe I'm going to make her the thumbnail of this video. So she has passed away now, but she was wonderful, my favorite little thing. But she would ring the bells because she wouldn't bark, to go outside to go pee all the time. Now, if it was summertime, she just wanted to go outside and screw around. She didn't have to go pee. She didn't anything. And I could be sitting at the table and she would want out 15, 20 times. So it was like super annoying, right? Like, come on, get longer arms and open the door yourself, was how I was feeling. So I thought this is the perfect way to start forgiving, is to forgive my dog, really, for just needing me. Like, what a ridiculously selfish thing. I brought you into my house. I'm here to take care of you, but yet I'm resentful towards you that you need me to open the door 700 times in the day. So I thought this is a good way to start. So I just laid there closed my eyes, put myself into a meditative state, and then thought about that I'm the only thing that she's got. She's never mad at me. She loves me every day. It wouldn't have mattered if I, would have left her locked in a trunk for 3 days and me been the one who put her in there. By the time that I came to let her out, she would have been so happy to see me, right? Dogs don't hold resentment. Of course, I never did anything like that. That's cruel and horrible. But had I done something like that, she would have immediately forgiven me. She would have loved me. So I just thought about these few little things, and I, was like, okay, I forgive you for needing me. And I felt such relief from this because it immediately took away the annoyance that I had towards her and just put like this feeling of like, we're a team. We're here together. It really changed the way that I thought about things by doing something small. But this article that I had read was talking about, doing the little things. So forgiving, let's say the person that you encountered that was rude to you. That's an easy one to do, right? To forgive a stranger, perhaps, that was rude. Why? Because maybe they were having a really hard day. We don't know what other people are going through because people don't talk about it. So if you've ever encountered somebody that, was not the kindest, forgiving this person rather than thinking about it, rather than carrying it around in your energetic system and allowing it to bother you, forgiving them and releasing yourself and this person, but releasing yourself in the process of doing that. It's so important because we become lighter bodied when we are just carrying the frequency of divine love in our system rather than carrying the low frequencies of resentment, guilt, shame, unforgiveness, whatever it happens to be. Now here's the deeper parts of all this. So forgiving my ex, my son's biological dad. Okay, so for him, what did I learn? Oh, I learned so many wonderful things from that experience. First of all, I never got a penny of child support. Okay, I'm just realizing there's a repeated pattern here now that my husband is that I have him as an ex and he's not paying me a penny. I'm going to make a note of that for later to deal with. Anyways, forgiving him and letting him go. What happened through that? Well, I really learned to protect my children. I really learned my value. I'm not going to stick around. You're abusing me? No, you can go screw off. That's not happening. I learned how to be strong on my own. There were so many wonderful things that I gained and learned. So when I look back on that situation, I don't look back on it resentfully at all. I just think, man, I really did it. Like, what a strong person that I freaking am, that I raised a little kid all by myself at 16 years old without a penny support from his biological dad. That shows a lot of strength, that I gained within myself over that time. Now, to my father, I could be resentful towards him for not being perfect and for not loving me perfectly. But what I know is that I came to this earth to learn about forgiveness and specifically to forgive him. This has come up in past life sessions that I had with him in that life where I did not forgive him in this past life. In this past life that came up 6 separate occasions, which that does not happen. From my experience with my clients, that does not happen. So there was something very significant about this past life that I needed to see, and I only saw it the last time that we explored it, and that was realizing that this situation had occurred in this past life. He had done something to me. I got revenge on him, and I didn't forgive him in that life. And we both pass and we realize, oh, we messed up. This life was about forgiveness and we didn't do it. Great, now we got to go do it again. Okay, well, what better way to have to forgive somebody than to be born into their life as their child, and then for them to have to do something that would be difficult to forgive. This is how karma works. I died in that past life having not had the time, because I was killed, to resolve what it was and to find this forgiveness, because I was just about the revenge. So I didn't have time in that life. So it makes sense that my karma now in this life would need to be resolved from that past life in this life. That was the lesson. But sometimes we die before we get the chance to resolve these things or to learn what it was that we were here to do. You know, what would you do if you knew that the reason that you were here was for some specific lesson? If it was to learn to forgive, if it was to learn to let go of fear or anxiety or whatever it happened to be, wouldn't that change things for you here in this life if you knew, oh, this happened because I'm supposed to learn and grow from this? So, having learned and having grown and having forgiven, I can tell you right now that there is nobody, including my ex-husband, who there would be many things that I, could be resentful about. I don't mean it makes me laugh now. This is how much joy I have in my life, that I could think about all the situations, all the prostitutes that he'd been with, and all those situations. But it doesn't break my heart. It makes me laugh, and it makes me joyful and thankful that I'm not with him anymore, that I'm totally free, that I've set myself free. And I see this as a lesson, and I've learned it. And so I'm very thankful about that. And I could be resentful, I could be all these things, but no, I took the time to do the deep work so that I wouldn't be carrying that in my energetic system, because it benefits absolutely no one to carry resentment, guilt, and shame. It benefits absolutely nobody. Not me, not anybody that I know. So forgiveness is such an important thing. So if you have somebody, let's say that you were abused as a child, somebody, maybe they sexually abused you, maybe they verbally, physically abused you, whatever it happens to be. Now, when you think about this situation, I want you to notice physically in your body the tension that comes up inside your body when you think about it. And then be really honest with yourself. How many times does it pop into your mind in a normal day or week? If you're really honest, how many times does it just flash through your mind in a day? So if it's the case that these things still are coming up, you are carrying them in your energetic system, is what you're doing. And then this is affecting your vital life force energy. And every single time that you have that thought or a word or an action around that resentment that you have towards somebody, towards that unforgiveness that you have towards someone, you're depleting the energy stores in your body, and eventually it will cause a physical breakdown or dis-ease within the body. So we are not doing ourselves any favors by not forgiving someone. I know it's difficult to do. I know it. I 100% know it. Been there, done that. And I'm not saying that I just decided overnight that I needed to do it and then could do it the next day. That is not the case at all. I started working with forgiveness towards my father, did a bit, then ended up not talking to him for a few years, then ended up forgiving him. So this is a process. It is a process, but starting the process is the most important part. So start small. Start with something small. I want you to think about something that seems almost insignificant. Maybe somebody, like I said before, maybe even a retail worker, somebody that just spoke to you in a tone or something that you didn't appreciate or that hit you in a certain way, and it is now bothering you, right? Because if you think about it, you're storing their energy, that energy that they put out, you're storing it in your body. That's what you're feeling when you're thinking about it. You don't want to do this, right? Because then they have control over you, and you want to take control back of your own mind. So is you forgive this person. So what are you doing when you're forgiving them? You could make excuses for them and make excuses for people. Why? Because wouldn't you want that for yourself? Wouldn't you want that for yourself? Unless you're going out there intentionally being rude and mean to people, then you're going to get that back as karma. If you are intentionally being rude and mean to people, when people are mean and rude to you, this is your own creation. It's your own fault. You've done it yourself. So deal with it and forgive these people. But you're going to have to forgive yourself first in order to forgive these other people. But if you think about someone who you need to forgive, just start tiny, tiny, tiny little bits. So think of them as a young child and just know that hurt people. So more than likely, they were not loved properly. They didn't experience pure love and acceptance, as most of us do not, as a child. And therefore, they are carrying things. They're carrying their past trauma in their energetic system, and they are going to subconsciously spread this poison to other people because it creates a temporary relief depending on the person. I mean, that would not cause a relief in me, but that maybe would have at some point in the past. Being mean to somebody else would have made me feel powerful, or at least in control in some way. And sometimes this is what people are doing because they don't feel powerful and they don't feel like they have any control. So they're mean and rude to other people so that they can feel that sense of control and power. So it's not necessarily that it's you, that a person would target. They would target anybody who happened to be sitting right where you're sitting when they did the thing that they did. You know what I'm saying? So starting small. If you can imagine this person who was rude to you, just imagine them that they were having a bad day, or imagine them as a young child, that they weren't loved properly. Little exercises, little techniques like this when you're in a meditative state can be super helpful. But the biggest part is the intention. Why is it that you want to forgive? Well, because it's powerful. First of all, forgiveness is very powerful because it puts you in control of your own mind. It allows you to master yourself because it takes a lot of mind control. It takes a lot of mental mastery in order to be able to forgive people who maybe you feel or deem aren't worthy of it. Well, you need to find a reason why they are worthy of it. Here's a reason: because we're all just souls in this human experience, doing it for, air quotes, the first time. And because we're in temporary amnesia while we're here, we don't remember. But we're here and we're all just first timers trying to figure it out. And sometimes along the way we hurt people. Sometimes it's intentional. Oftentimes, most times, it's not intentional, but we're hurting people from our deep wounded places within us. Every single person is just wanting to be loved. Every single person is just wanting to be loved, even when they're hurting other people. Even when they're hurting other people, all they're wanting is love. They're just wanting love, but it's coming from such a wounded place that it comes across in distorted ways and in ways that we don't appreciate or like. So if you are wanting to forgive someone, put yourself into a meditative state. Take some time, put yourself in these deep breaths, then imagine that person coming, sitting on a bench next to you or in front of you. A little child or whatever age to you is the most forgivable. And then just imagine you can use different techniques. You could make excuses for them as to why maybe they hurt you in such a way. This is good. Make excuses for other people. Do this. It's very beneficial. It's very beneficial. That's not saying that it's okay what they did. Totally 100 million% not. It's not okay. But it means that they're human. And it means that they're a soul. And depending on the karma from previous lives, we have agreements with these people that they are going to come in and hurt us in some way so that we can learn and evolve from it. We have previous agreements. So these people who come in and hurt us, like my father, who happened to be my father in this life and in previous lives, not my father. We have agreements with these people, so we could make them out to be these bad people, and we can make them out to be, or we can make ourselves out to be a victim of this. But no, when it's agreed upon, and we are creating everything here, if you learn the lessons from it, and you take the growth, the spiritual and personal growth from that lesson, then you gain strength and power, and you can gain control over your mind, because you can realize, like, hey man, I'm a powerful person. I forgave this person who abused me in this way. Of course, I 1,000,000% forgave them. I hope that they're okay. I hope that they find the laughter and the joy and the happiness that I have found. And when you can genuinely and truly say that about that person, then you know that you have not only set yourself free, but you've also set that other person free. And if you've actually forgiven them, you will want that other person to also be set free. Because what is punishment but evil doing under the guise of goodness? I don't want anybody to be punished. But if they must experience their own karma, which they must, then good. I'm excited for that to happen for that person, because they will learn from it, right? If you go out and you just start abusing people and you have no karma from it, what is going to stop you from doing this again? Nothing. But if all of a sudden this comes back to you and you get to experience from your victim's point of view what occurred, well, you're going to think twice, aren't you? You're either going to build up more resentment and you're going to do it even more, because you're not going to understand why this is happening. You're not going to understand it's you that's creating it. Or you're going to go, oh, wow, I can't believe I did this. I'm never doing that ever again. Oh, I would never wish, I can't believe this. I would never wish anything horrible on anybody. And it'll change the way that you think about it. So forgiveness is something that happens in waves. It's something that happens little baby steps at a time. And it's something that happens through using little techniques, through my experience, little techniques of just like, let's go, just like, let go of a little bit of it. Okay, now let's let go of a little bit more. Now let's let go of a little bit more, and not crapping on yourself. In the meantime, when you aren't able to just walk away from the situation and be like, there we go, totally resolved, all good, because life takes time. That's why we're here for as long as we are, because these lessons don't just happen overnight, right? It takes some time. So this is what I have to say today here about forgiveness. Thank you guys for listening. Thank you guys for tuning in. If you find these lessons valuable, please share them on your social media. Share them with friends. Please like this video. I like making these videos for you guys. And I hope that you guys have the most wonderful day today. Thank you for being here and for being my loyal listeners. If you guys have any questions, if you guys have any comments, if you guys have any videos that you would like to see, just comment down below and I will make you up a nice little video to answer whatever questions that you have. Anyways, I hope y'all are doing wonderful, and take care and have the most amazing day today.